Again from Deputy Richard Boyd Barrett.
And to follow on from our earlier discussion, you see the way you can maintain services, whether it's in schools, local authorities, hospitals, or anywhere else in the public service on a 4-day week and keep those services is by recruiting more people, more teachers, more nurses, more local authority workers, more youth and community workers. But what I want to know is that we are going to go in that direction, recruitment, to provide quality public services rather than the cuts and understaffing that plague our public services.
McGrath.
Thank you very much, Deputy, and let me acknowledge, first of all, the extraordinary response of our public servants and their organisations to the circumstances of the COVID-19 pandemic. I think we can all be very proud of the great work that is underway during this unprecedented public health emergency. A number of reforms introduced already under the Government's public service reform agenda, such as the Build to Share ICT infrastructure, the progressive digitalisation of services, a streamlined and centralised government procurement system, shared services, as well as centralised strategic HR capability, have greatly facilitated our civil and public services in responding rapidly to the challenges emerging from the pandemic. The current framework for public service reform and innovation, Our Public Service 2020, launched at the end of 2017, builds on earlier programmes of reform while expanding their scope in order to accelerate the digital delivery of public services, deliver better services to customers, drive innovation and develop our people and organisation. And I know that Minister of State Smith, who has a responsibility in this area, is very keen to continue and develop further that ambitious programme. Our department has now begun consultations on developing a successor framework to OPS 2020, and similar work is well advanced in framing a renewal plan for the civil service. The vision and strategy underpinning this will focus on large-scale, ambitious transformation to support greatly enhanced digital service delivery, developing our data infrastructure and building the workforce and workplace of the future following the extraordinary changes that have taken place during the pandemic. In the area of staffing levels, as the Deputy will be aware, significant increases in government expenditure have allowed for the recruitment of additional staff across the public service since 2015. In fact, over the last 4 years alone, the number in the public service has grown by over 30,000.
Many thanks, Minister. Deputy Boyd Barrett.
When the Fine Gael Labour government came to power in 2011, they coined the infamous slogan, "We'll get more for less," and as they swung the austerity axe, the result was not more for less, but a hell of a lot less at every level in our public services, to the point that we now have nearly 1 million people waiting for procedures in hospitals. We have the lowest rate of ICU anywhere in Europe in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have the most overcrowded classrooms. We have waiting lists for housing maintenance, for adaptations, for developing Part 8 projects because of chronic understaffing. So all the procurement policies and all the technological streamlining in the world doesn't substitute for the people that you need to deliver services. And we are not aggressively enough recruiting the nurses, the teachers, the local authority workers, the community and youth workers that we need to deliver public services.
Thank you, Deputy. Minister.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy.
Sorry, Deputy Owen Murphy wanted to come in.
Sorry, Aaron, I didn't know what you were signalling about.
Sorry, it wasn't very clear. Sorry, thank you, Ken Corder.
Behind the mask.
No, I beg your pardon. No, I have a question on this, Minister. We might not get to it though this evening, but it was just to confirm some issues around the e-government strategy, which is meant to be updated, just to get a bit of a timeline around that, because it's become so much more important, obviously, in COVID-19. People are interacting more with government services online because they have to. And we need to make sure that that is up to date, the new strategy. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister.
Shall I answer that? May I answer that?
Minister O'Shea-Smith, yes, of course.
Yeah, so the plan is that will be updated in Q1 of next year.
Minister McGrath. Yes, of course.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Boyd Barrett, for that. And I mean, just to say, we have the largest public service that we've ever had at this point in time. And you're right, there were major cuts to numbers at the bottom, at the trough. we had about 292,000 in the public service. We now have about 343,000, and that recruitment in the last number of years has been absolutely essential to keep pace with demographic changes and to undo some of the cuts that were imposed during those years. And we do face great challenges, and we are determined to continue with a programme of recruitment. It does have to be done in the overall context in an affordable way, but even through decisions that we made since coming into office in the last number of months, we have seen the initiation of additional recruitment in key areas of the public service, and that will be continuing.
Thank you. Deputy, to conclude.
You know, the facts on the ground speak for themselves, and it suggests that maybe, to allude to our earlier discussion, there's too many chiefs, not enough Indians, and too much of the money is going to the chiefs, and not enough to paying the people who actually deliver the frontline services. I mean, our ICU situation is terrifying, for example. And ICU isn't about beds, because we have the beds and the ventilators. We don't have the staff, because we haven't recruited them. We haven't created the posts. We're not creating the posts in nursing. We're not aiming to recruit enough teachers to reduce our class sizes to the levels they are in Denmark, instead of 3 times the levels, the ratios they are here. We are desperately lacking outdoor workers in local authorities to do maintenance work, to work in the communities, to just fix the roads, all that kind of stuff. There's a clear and obvious shortage of frontline public sector workers in the area of key service delivery.
Thank you,
so
Deputy Minister.
We need to respond to that,
Thank you, Minister.
Yeah, well, Deputy, I would acknowledge that, particularly over the last 6 months, some public services have been under huge pressure. Some have simply not been able to operate because of the extraordinary circumstances that we're all living through. But the numbers speak for themselves as well. The number of public servants has increased. It has increased significantly, and it has increased across the board, including in our health service, where we now have well over 120,000 people working in the health service, and even in the winter plan, which has been unveiled, that will involve additional recruitment as well. This year alone, we're spending an extra €3 billion in health because we had to do so, and it was the right thing to do. And we are determined to ensure that we fund our health service properly for next year, not just to deal with the pandemic, but also to, for once and for all, deal with the deep-rooted structural problems that are there, and ensure our health service has the capacity, both in terms of physical infrastructure, such as beds, but of course the people that are needed to run those services, and we are determined to do that.